This is a wireless charger from EC Technology, and this is what I've been using lately to charge my phone. Now, before I show you all the features that this has, I want to compare it to a couple of others. And number one, mention that you've got to have the correct power supply and cable going to your charging base. Last week I made a video demonstrating how you can use an ammeter to see how much current you have coming from your charging block or your charging cable. So to be fair in this test, what I'm going to do is use this same charging block for all of the wireless chargers that I have. This is my old BlackBerry Playbook charger, and this thing charges anything that I've come across with that has a micro USB input. Even if you've got a Samsung Galaxy Tab, for example, sometimes the batteries get so low that they won't charge. This will bring it back to life so far every time I've tried. So I'm going to use this to demonstrate how this thing works. And first, I want to point out that there are some really crappy chargers on the market. The first one I got was this little black disc that had a red circle in the center of it, and it was worth about what I paid for it, which I think was about $5 or $6. So the next one I got was this, and this one was okay. I mean, it works, but you definitely have to make sure your phone is lined up perfectly, otherwise you get nothing. So I'm going to plug this in. You'll see there's a blue light right up here to indicate that we've got power going to it. However, if you're sloppy about how you set your phone down and you don't hit it just right, you're not going to be able to charge. You've got to get this thing within a certain area, and you'll see it come on here in just a second. I think it's right about here. Come on. At some point, there we go. So it finally starts charging, but I mean, you've got to get this thing exactly in the right spot. So if you're not paying attention, you set this down and walk away. Well, obviously you're not going to set it there, but if you set it off just by a hair, your phone may not be charging. So this one works, but sometimes, and I don't really like it for that reason. So I got one very similar to this, and here's the interesting thing. This looks like it's made by the same company. It's almost identical, but it does work slightly better. So when I plug this one in, it gives you, there's actually two different lights here. So there's a red light that you can see here, and then there's a blue light over here. The red light will indicate power. If you set your phone in the right spot, hopefully you can see there's a blue light that comes on. But again, if you're off by a bit, you're not going to be able to charge the phone. So we're not charging now. If I get it down to here, we're good. And then I think it's good to about right here. So it's got a slightly larger area when it comes to being able to charge. The thing about this is it's pretty flimsy. I mean, it just feels lightweight. It's made out of plastic. It's hollow. It does work most of the time, but again, if you're careless, you might not notice that your phone's not charging. So this is one that EC sent me a while ago, and this one works pretty well. However, I do have a couple of problems with it. Number one, you can see it's kind of scratched up now. I don't know if you can see the surface, but I was setting my phone on here with just the glass back of the phone without any type of case, and I ended up putting a few scratches in there, which really isn't that unusual for something that has a mirrored type of surface. But one of the features about this, which I didn't like on my nightstand, let me go ahead and kill the lights here. If you can see, the logo and this little ring here will pulsate. So they kind of light up and then they fade back out, which is a cool looking feature unless you're a light sleeper and light inside of your room keeps you awake, which is what was happening to me. So this thing was kind of distracting. And when you set your phone down on top of it, you have a very small area to work with. You've got to get it just right. But when it starts charging, there's a green light that comes out from the bottom here. So if I point this down, you can see that green circle. This goes into your room if you don't block it off. It's almost like a night light, and for me, it was just kind of annoying. So I ended up moving this to my desk. I'll use this while I'm at the computer, but I didn't really like it at night for when I was trying to sleep because the light was really bothering me. This one, on the other hand, the latest one that they sent me, is cool for a couple of reasons. One, it's got triple coil inductive charging. So there are 3 separate coils. So where with the others, you had to make sure you lined it up on exactly where that coil is within a certain range, there are 3 coils inside of this base. So you have quite a bit more room to work with. So I can set this down and not really worry too much about where the phone is. And most of the time it's going to charge. Interesting thing is if you move off of one of the coils, it will stop charging until it finds the next coil in line, and then it will start charging again. So you can see it's not, oh, is it now? Sorry, it's hard to see through the camera here. So right now we're charging, and if I slide it off of that coil, it will typically pause for a minute and give me that indication that the wireless charging is paused, which it doesn't seem to be doing now. Okay, there we go. So wireless charging is paused. But you see it ends up finding the next coil in line. So you can go from here, I want to say pretty far to where you're almost falling off the charging base, and you'll still be charging the phone. Now, it doesn't have anything that lights up on the front, but it does have a blue LED, or I'm sorry, a red LED on the bottom and a red LED inside here. Hopefully you can see that. So that when you put the phone on the charger, it's going to light up blue, and you'll see it's probably pretty hard to see down here, but we have a blue light coming against the table right there. So all in all, these do all work. They all function. They will all charge the phone, but this one is the easiest to use, in my opinion. Definitely a higher quality. It's more solid and sturdy. I mean, it really feels like it's going to last a lot longer. Obviously, the surfaces on these are easier to scratch, but it's easy enough to prevent that problem by just putting something like a TPU case on the back of your phone. The other thing that I observed about these, and this is consistent no matter which one of these that you're using, and that's usually the question I get, well, how much longer is it going to take to charge? Well, if we take this one, and again, the triple coil output is identical to any of these other ones, so it doesn't really matter which of these you're using. What you're going to notice is that if we set this down here, it should tell me. So I am at 28%, and if we give this a second, it'll be able to read and see how much how long we're going to have to wait for a full charge. So go ahead and put that in standby. And we turn it back on, you'll see we have 1 hour 58 minutes until fully charged. I've tested this on all of these chargers, and it's all the same. It doesn't matter which one you use. Now, as opposed to switching out and actually plugging the phone in, remember this is a 2 amp charger, so we should have fast charging. And we are going to get, again, give it a second because it has to think about what that time's going to be. Seems like it came up a little faster when I put it in standby. Okay, so now we've got an hour 14, so roughly about a 45 minute difference, almost twice the amount of time when you're using an inductive charger. But for me, the benefit is that if I walk into the room and there's one of these on the table, I'm much more likely to set this down on the charger than I am to go chase down a cord and plug it in. So in my experience, and I've got one of these in the car also, it's a magnetic type. I think I showed, actually I did a video a while ago about the put to go where you just stick the phone right onto it and it charges. And for me, wherever I go, it's easy to set my phone down and charge it, so I don't really have to worry about the battery life as much as I used to. Now, hopefully the iPhone 8 will have this as well, so we'll be able to do the same thing. And I am anxious to see what Apple's inductive charger looks like, and I have yet to test a Samsung OEM inductive charger. That is next on my list to add to my collection, and I'll let you know how that works compared to the rest of these.